Hello, Mr. Prabha. Hi.
Hi,
Mr.
how are
Prabha.
you, Tansri?
Good morning. How are you?
Okay, Tansri. Okay.
Uh-huh. How are things? Okay.
Things okay. Things okay. I've been trying to go and battle a lot of messages after the misspoken comment uh, during the event. I think you know what I'm talking about, Tansri.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I have been Googling, and I found that a lot of NGOs in the West have jumped on it.
Mm.
Yeah, so we have been trying to go and put across facts, balanced facts, and so in fact, I'm also writing an article on it now for submission for the newsletter.
Yeah. We have to take things very positively
Of
when
course.
we do a little bit of side tracking like that. We can see how the anti-palm oil campaigners are stupidly, responding with all kinds of nonsense,
Yes,
as though they know everything. Actually, if it is a mistake, it is a mistake, uh,
absolutely.
and therefore, these people are behaving as though they are God, trying to rule the world. But
Yeah,
actually, it's not like that. Well, there is a mistake. Who doesn't make mistake? There is the truth of set of things. So when they commented, you can see that they are either going for characters, or going for personal, or going
yeah,
for omitting that things could be misunderstood or misquoted. All those things are easy for them to ignore, and yet when you look at their comments, it adds nothing
but Tansi, the
substantial.
unfortunate thing is that the mentality of these NGOs is still very much into the colonialism. While they say that, oh, we should be politically correct, but they still believe that they have a right to rule over us and tell us what to do.
That's true. So this colonialism mentality is ongoing, very thick in terms of practicing them, the mentalities, or mentality, if you like. So
Yeah,
you can't blame them. But eventually, when it boils down to them being paid by their government through NGO funds,
yes,
to do
yes,
a job which has escalated to nitpicking, or escalated to uh, ganging in mob mentality, on soft targets that they can work on, because this seems to bring a lot more money to their NGO funding from their
funding,
own
yes.
government, who likes them to behave like this. And that's why you have no palm oil label, and the government likes it, because it helps their own farmers being protected from competition. So this is the
Tans, yeah,
challenge.
I put a comment, Tansri. I told this is nothing to do with climate change or sustainability. It's all about business. That is the reason why Western Europe, uh, a majority, and to a lesser extent, North America, are jumping on the bandwagon to go and hit palm oil because it's an easy target. And most of the countries that produce palm oil are of lesser economic stature than Western Europe and North America, number one. Number two, the way that they frame their arguments, if you read between the lines, is basically written by lobbyists to protect their agriculture industry.
They
Simple.
can't they can't protect the agriculture industry because they keep changing the rules or goalposts, or making claims that they are net zero emitter or whatever
Yes.
potentially, but they can't, because they have actually deforested before, and the CO2 and the carbon footprint is still there for all the crops that they have planted on their land, which was once
Right.
forest. So they can't remove that unless they replant their land with forest.
True,
As
true,
long as
true.
they have crops, that crop carries a lot of CO2 footprint because of
Mm.
deforestation. Because when you deforest, the CO2 release is not removed. It's only removed when you replant it with forest again.
Right, right.
Other form of removal of CO2, that may be CO2 from other sources, not from the forest that they deforested.
Yes, true, true.
And they are trying to link us with deforestation potential
Yes,
or
true,
a
true.
loss, and punishing us with that. Why can't they punish their own self? Because
Absolutely.
their crops are all, having high deforestation footprint and high CO2 footprint as well. So they're going to
Tansri,
set their own trap and probably drown with their own argument that, they are the culprit eventually, causing global warming, which is already proven.
Tansri, you want to hear one joke? This one was in, I think, a couple of years ago, before the pandemic, and I think I was in Germany, and I got into a kind of a discussion with some people. When I told them that an oil palm tree can be harvested over one tree can be harvested over a lifespan of 25 years, a quarter of a century, they laughed and laughed and laughed.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
said there is no a tree that can bear fruit for 25 years. Then I
yeah.
gave them all the links to all the scientific research. They said this is all manufactured news. I mean, can you imagine the mentality, Tansri?
No, they don't know. If they have not seen a particular item in this world, their world is still very small. All they
Yes,
know
yes.
is pine trees and so on, which don't have any fruits most of the time, or even
Yes.
leaves. Their trees don't have tree leaves most of the time. That they're very familiar. But oil palm, we have leaves on the oil palm all the time,
True.
and therefore fruits as well, because that is the way it is, provided by nature.
Very true.
Anyway, go ahead. We are coming close to starting time. You got
Yeah,
you got
just
some
need to.
35 participants already.
Hold on. Selamat pagi, good morning. Wherever you are in the world, I would like to welcome each and every one of you to the Council of Palm Oil Producing Countries webinar series. My name is Prabha Nair from Palm Oil Discourse, and I will be the moderator this morning. Today's webinar carries the theme Artificial Intelligence, Game Changer in Palm Oil Industry. We are fortunate to have with us 4 esteemed panelists from diverse backgrounds. They are Datuk Najib Wahab, Chief Executive Officer of Malaysian Palm Oil Association and Chairman of the Main Committee of the Mechanization and Automation Research Consortium of Oil Palm. Next, we have Mr. Chong Yong Kong, who's Head of Engineering at Lintramax Sdn Bhd. Next, Mr. Wan Siu Hong, a PhD candidate at UCSI University. And last but not least, Professor Datuk Dr. Ahmad Ibrahim, Professor of Chemical Engineering, UCSI University, and Senior Advisor Malaysia of the Fraunhofer Research Network, Germany. They will provide insights from multifaceted angles on our theme, Artificial Intelligence, Game Changer in Palm Oil Industry. The world over, artificial intelligence is revolutionizing every industry. I will be brave to say most are unaware how critical a role artificial intelligence, from IoT to big data to drones, play in the agribusiness of palm oil. AI is bringing precision to the entire value chain, from weather forecast for harvest management, to plantation data for crop management, to traceability for sustainability credentials. Even in developing, planning, and implementing sustainable initiatives, AI is key to success. This is just the tip of the iceberg, as AI is the future in almost every facet of our lives. Arguably, despite being one of the most maligned in the plantation sector, the palm oil industry is probably the most technologically advanced. This session is our opportunity to learn how AI is reinventing and elevating the palm oil industry for the benefit of global food security. Before we deep dive into the session, allow me to remind you to give your rapt attention till the end. Why? Well, besides learning from the panelists, we have a lucky draw where one of you will win a 10.2-inch Retina display Apple iPad. So hang on till the end. Now let us begin. That was quite a mesmerizing introduction, I must say. To kick off today's session, I introduce Tan Sri Datuk Dr. Yusuf Basiron, the Executive Director of CPOPC. Tan Sri is not only a renowned and an influential figure in the Malaysian palm oil industry, he is also much respected for his experience and expertise. He has served in numerous portfolios, and Tan Sri's track record in research stretches across 3 decades. Tan Sri leads the CPOPC in strategy direction for improvement of the palm oil sector. Tan Sri, it's your floor.
Thank you, Mr. Prabha. I'm able to be heard, yes. Good day, selamat siang, and on behalf of the organizer, CPOPC, or Council of Palm Oil Producing Countries, I welcome you to today's webinar titled Artificial Intelligence, Game Changer in the Palm Oil Industry. Firstly, I would like to extend my regards to our distinguished speakers for today's session, Professor Dr. Ahmad Ibrahim of USCI University, Dato Muhammad Najib Ahmad Abdul Wahab of Malaysian Palm Oil Association, Mr. Chong Yong Kong of Lintramax Sdn Bhd, and Mr. Wan Siu Hong from USCI University. Thank you for your valuable time here today. I trust that the knowledge that you will impart today to our audience will be inspiring to many millennials in Malaysia. To all participants, thank you for being here and for joining our virtual session. And I hope you are all keeping well, safe, and healthy, especially during this ongoing pandemic that has been happening for quite some time now. Malaysia has inherited and developed a great palm oil industry that contributes to the country's economy, food security, employment, sustainable agricultural development, forest conservation, and most important of all, the oil palm provides green tree cover on our agricultural land that removes CO2 and generates CO2, which are good for the environment, especially in mitigating climate change. Today's topic shows us that Industrial Revolution, or IR 4.0, is becoming increasingly critical to the progress in the end-to-end industry value chain. Around the world, artificial intelligence, or AI, is in every aspect of our lives, from something basic like the prompter that welcomes us that when we make a phone call to a bank, to the complex technology in autonomous vehicles. Artificial intelligence has been utilized in multiple industries, even in food industry. However, it seems that artificial intelligence is still underutilized in the palm oil industry. And as we have been very conventional and traditional in our operations, with much use of labor forces to accomplish tasks. I believe we must evolve fast to accumulate the palm oil industry efficiently, to accelerate the palm oil industry efficiently. Why? Why is this? You may wonder, because palm oil is a key component in global food security. Firstly, in agriculture, complex tasks such as land classification, soil and fertilizer management, crop selection, yield forecasting, and yield gap analysis greatly benefit from artificial intelligence to simplify the processes and to increase accuracy. Smart systems that incorporate intelligent algorithms and strong computation are now implemented in almost every level, from seedling, planting to harvesting to bunch reception to packing. The industry is embarking on regression analysis to predict fruit yields, harvesting time, oil yield, and seasonal impact through artificial intelligence. In Malaysia, remote sensing using satellite technology was widely used from the beginning of the 1990s in the timber industry. Now, the application of remote sensing is widely used for the monitoring of palm oil plantations. Except that today, remote sensing is much more dependent on artificial intelligence to reduce costs and increase accuracy, therefore bringing more economic benefits to the palm oil industry. The use of advanced technology in the palm oil industry has streamlined competencies and heightened mission achievement. Green energy from the palm oil industry is also benefiting from artificial intelligence, especially in the processing of fruit and palm waste management for conversion to biofuel to produce optimum output. With biofuel being advocated as one variety of power towards a greener future, our industry is set to assist in meeting the supply of the demand. Like in any other industry, research and development is what determines the future. Likewise, in the palm oil industry, artificial intelligence is pioneering concepts to stimulate research to produce database recommendations with scientific accuracy to evaluate the entire palm oil value chain. In my many years of being in this industry, I've now seen science and technology, how science and technology have accelerated the sector, bringing improvements that is transforming plantations and positively impacting the industry as a whole. Artificial intelligence must be seen as far more than just a problem-solving perspective. It has lowered costs, increased efficiency, and is lowering the risk of human error in decision-making. In the past decade, artificial intelligence has come to factor more in the curriculum of undergraduates and postgraduate courses at tertiary institutions, from engineering to finance to business to agriculture studies. Millennials and young professionals are captivated by how artificial intelligence has come to replace conventional methods and thinking for the better. The question now is it is a reason why all of you have gathered for this seminar, is how artificial intelligence combined with other learnings and knowledge can further the advancement of the palm oil industry to be the most game-changing in the plantation sector. I see that young people are heading into the bright future with plenty of learning opportunities in collaborating deep learning and machine learning and relevant technologies in the agriculture sector. We have our distinguished speakers ready to share with everyone here on how artificial intelligence can be further implemented in the palm oil industry, setting it to be one of the most innovative sectors. My take-home message for you today, the millennial, is that the millennial will inherit this industry to enable it to operate to benefit all stakeholders. Hence, we invite the millennials to join us in defending this industry from being attacked by the anti-palm oil campaigners, especially from the EU, who want to protect their own oilseed crops from competition by imported palm oil. To be aware of the threat is half the battle. Before I end my remarks, it is my hope and desire that you will take advantage of this valuable opportunity of being agent of change in the palm oil industry, our country's most highly regarded commodity that is being well marketed worldwide. Lastly, I would wish all of you a most successful webinar and sincerely hope that each and every one of you who participate in this webinar will learn some important insights to be applied in the future. May you continue to be inspired. Thank you. Back to you, Mr. Prava.
Thank you, Tan Sri. That was quite an interesting broad view of the theme that you had just given us. Now we will go on to our first panelist. Datuk Najib Wahab is Chief Executive Officer of Malaysian Palm Oil Association and Chairman of Main Committee at the Mechanization and Automation Research Consortium of Oil Palm. Datuk Najib's angle on our theme is Future Direction of Plantations, the Malaysian Context. Over to you, Datuk.
Can you?
Yes, Datuk.
Okay. Thank you, Prabha, for the kind introduction. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone, distinguished guests, panelists, and the esteemed audience. At the onset, I would like to thank the organizer, CPOPC, and especially to Tan Sri Yusof Basiron for inviting me to be among the panelists at today's webinar titled AI, Game Changer in the Palm Industry. And I'm here today in a dual capacity. One as Chief Executive of the Malaysian Palm Oil Association, as well as the Chairman of the Main Committee of the Mechanization and Automation Research Consortium of Oil Palm, or better known as MARCOM. First, I would like to give a few pointers in my capacity as Chief Executive of the Malaysian Palm Oil Association, which is the biggest organization in Malaysia representing the industry. Ladies and gentlemen, all of us are fully aware that the oil palm industry in Malaysia is very dependent on guest workers. And prior to the pandemic, 84% of its work strength consists of foreign workers. And even before the pandemic, the industry were already short of workers. And it has been 2 years post-pandemic, the shortage has reached an alarming rate that it has resulted in a shortfall of between 15 to 25% of Malaysia's potential production. We closed 2021 with the worst performance in many years. Production went down to a tune of only 18.12 million tons. Fortunately, in spite of the multitude of issues plaguing the oil palm sector, prices were on our side. Average price of 4,407 ringgit per metric ton were realized in 2021, and this is historically high. And that translates to an equally historical high revenue of 106.5 billion ringgit. But sad and rather unfortunate that we could not optimize the high prices realized. We could have earned an additional revenue of more than 20 billion in 2021 if only we were to have the required workers. This is really a lost opportunity. And this labor crunch is getting worse by the day. I would dare say the shortfall has gone beyond 75,000 today. We made numerous pleas to the government to allow back the flow of guest workers to this country. And the government has responded by granting us permission to recruit 32,000 of them. But in view of concerns by both the government and the source countries due to the pandemic, we have yet to see signs of them coming in till today. In the meantime, the industry have to make do with the situation and try to be as creative and as innovative as possible in reducing these losses. Ladies and gentlemen, now I shall wear the other hat as chairman of MARCOP. The freeze in bringing in guest workers was an eye-opener to the industry. It just shows how vulnerable and dependent we are upon them. As a result of high opportunity losses incurred by the industry, as well as the government in terms of tax income, we are in need of a solution to address this predicament for the long haul. Alhamdulillah, after much persuasion and deliberation, the government, through our ministry, has agreed to our request to set up a joint industry government consortium, specifically to look at quantum leap technologies that can reduce our dependence on manual work, thus reducing our need for workers. That consortium is named Mechanization and Automation Research Consortium of Oil Palm, or in short, MARCOP. More important, MARCOP has been allocated a startup fund of 60 million ringgit from the additional SES income as well as the matching government grant. MARCOP primary task now is to make the discovery process that can be the game changer to the industry, and specifically for the biggest issue facing the industry, that is the harvesting operation. Just for everyone's info, MARCOP consists of a main and technical committee made up of industry specialists, academicians, as well as government representatives. At the onset, we are fully aware of the daunting task entrusted upon us. We know it is not going to be easy, with a lot of expectations from everyone. After 3 months of deliberation among the main and technical committees, which consists of the best academia and industry brains in the country, we come to a conclusion that there is no shortcut to the process. The ultimate solution is through the use of artificial intelligence. And that is the main subject which we are discussing at today's webinar. Quoting Dr. Ahmad Ibrahim right up in the papers yesterday, artificial intelligence refers to a technology that can match the human intelligence, making machines perform tasks almost like human. And that is precisely our task and objective in Markov. We have given ourselves a maximum of 5 years to find a long-lasting solution to address our labor woes. And we are taking a three-pronged approach in doing so. They are the short-term, mid-term, and long-term plans, and all in the span of 5 years. I will, however, not deliberate on details of these three plans. The objective during these 5 years is to enhance harvesters' productivity in phases, gradually from the current land-to-man ratio of 1 to 15 for the harvesting operation to up to 1 to 100 at the end of it. And the plans will be effected concurrently. In doing so, we are revisiting our existing available technology to the ultimate use of exoskeleton, robotics, and drones. The development of technologies are very dynamic, and we are casting the net worldwide in the discovery process in search of technologies and processes. And to be able to do so will reduce our reliance on manual and guest workers. And being able to do so also would allow us to be very competitive in our cost management and marketability, including attracting local talents. It is not that the industry has been complacent over the years. We have made considerable headways in adopting AI in various field operations and processes over the years, especially in crop evacuation, fertilizer applications, herbicide and pesticide spraying, as well as data analytics. And as a result, we have been able to reduce our labor dependency by increasing our man-to-land ratio from previously 1:5 hectare to the current 1:10 hectare. But is that good enough? No, it's not good enough. We need to address our biggest bottleneck, that is the harvesting operations. Little progress has been made thus far due to many constraints as well as the availability of alternative there. What I meant by ability is that we have guest workers to rely upon. In the absence of these alternatives now, we have no other choice but to embrace technology in addressing our woes in the long run. Ladies and gentlemen, I never thought that I will ever see a fully automated and mechanized plantation in my lifetime. But I am very optimistic now that the day when we don't have to depend on guest workers may come sooner than expected. And I would like to very soon see that the perceived views that the industry is dirty, difficult, dangerous, and demeaning, 4Ds, being rebranded to a new 4D label that is decent, disciplined, doable, and dignified. And AI is the way to make that happen. With that, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Sorry, Dato. Yes, that was quite an interesting insight, especially on the work that Markup is doing. And I think that it can benefit the industry across the world. You know? Thank you, Dato. Now we are on to our second panelist. Chong Yong Kong is Head of Engineering at Litramax Sdn Bhd. Chong's angle on our theme is AI in plantation system application. Over to you, Yong Kong.
Thanks for the introduction, Prabha, and thanks for the invitation to be one of the panelists. Can everyone see my slides? Yeah. sharing my slides. Is that good? Yep. Very good morning, everyone. I'm Yong Kong from LearnTramex. Yep. I'm the head of engineering. Before we begin, just a quick glance of who we are and what we do in LearnTramex. LearnTramex is a market leader in agriculture software space. Our software platform, Quarto, which is a software as a service, helps our client to practice sustainable practice in managing their oil palm estate as well as their palm oil mill. We are constantly looking for new technologies, either internally or we are looking for cooperation with technology partners to always bring in the biggest impact when it comes to plantation management. And over the years, we have deployed our solutions to over 700 estates and over 80 plus palm oil mill across Malaysia, Indonesia, and Papua New Guinea. So that's what we do. Let's move on. Before we talk about the potential applications of AI in terms of plantation management solution, let's go back to the basic of what the textbook definition of artificial intelligence. So what is AI? AI, simply put, is just a machine or a computer that is capable of performing tasks intelligently, which otherwise need to be done by human. Every time when we talk about AI, also you may heard people mention about machine learning, deep learning, right? These are the two buzzwords that is going on. For the general audience, I think the takeaway is that if you look at this picture right here, the blue artificial intelligence, the blue color one is the superset of it, and machine learning and deep learning, they are just a subset of it. And in fact, they are the algorithms that actually power the AI. And to add in my own personal perspective, I would just add one more element into this AI realm, which is big data and data analysis. As AI theories, big data is actually utilizing the AI theories to crunch data. And in returns, the AI is actually using huge volume of data to help them to make a better decision. So these are the terminology or the jargon that I think everyone's can be aware of. With that clarified somewhat, let's move on to the topic today, which is the potential AI application in plantation management system. Right? I'm sure there are so many advanced AI research that's been ongoing. Right? Recently, I've read something about something really, really advanced. People are using satellite imagery. They are kind of using a satellite image to scan your plantation estates, right? Coupled with the AI modeling and AI analysis, they are able to model the carbon stock or the carbon deposit in your plantation soil. So that gets even more complicated and it drags to the carbon trading topics. Right? So all these seems to be quite distant away from our operations, our daily operations. But I'm sure that with time's advancements of AI, maybe it will come in the future. But for today's topic, I'm focusing on some of the AI application that is already within our reach, right? Things that you probably can get off the shelf and apply it in your day-to-day operations. So first off the bat is palm counting. Palm counting is a result of AI, of course, is utilizing computer object recognition algorithm to actually identify the shape of the palm and do the counting automatically, right? It used to be a costly, a wishful item on your list, right? It requires used to require a lot of man effort and very costly to get the accurate census of your palm. So let me share my experience on this. About 2 years ago, myself and other colleagues of mine, two of us, we don't have any prior knowledge of flying a drone. We don't have any knowledge of pump counting. So we just bought a DJI drone. We went to an estate in Sabah, Malaysia. We go there for a week, about a week in. Then we fly our drone. Then we come after we come out from the estate. We kind of stitch all the drone image together and feed into a software that do the AI counting. So within the 2 weeks time, we get something like this, a fairly accurate pump count. Just, I think it's not too bad considering both of us doesn't have much experience in terms of before doing this, right? So the point that I'm trying to bring out is that with the availability of drone and the accessibility of the software at the cost of having that, it's actually not that far. Everyone can actually do it if you have the will, right? Of course, you don't have to do it yourself. There are many vendors, technology vendors, that can actually provide the service to give you up to 99% of accuracy when it comes to pump counting. Right? So once we have this result, I think we take it a step further, right? It's pretty much very useful when you do your fertilizer budgeting because it's based on very accurate pump counting. With this information, we even put in our system, we kind of collect all these geospatial data, drone image and all that, as you can see here. Over right here, this is the part without the drone image, and the bottom part is the one with drone image. We go a step further, we overlay your operation data, your yield, your budget figure, your operation info, how many man days you spent on top, and then we present it in a certain visually engaging way. And hopefully this is another way of looking things rather than just flipping through reports and Excel to actually know the yield of the information, the vital information of your estate. It's a different perspective of looking at things, right? So that is one of the applications, right? Next, FFB ripeness classification. I think the idea here that the research or the application, they are using computer vision or image processing to actually, they take a picture of the fruit, the FFB fruit, and through some computational model, the color index will be able to allow the computer to automatically sort out and then to classify the fruit, whether it's overripe, ripe, underripe, right? So assuming we can get a model, right? We get the computational model and that can fit universally, pretty much we can achieve an unbiased FFB grading in estate or even in the palm oil mill. But however, having said that, I think the challenge is to find a grading model that fits universally and to adopt this into our day-to-day operations, right? I've personally seen technology vendors that install cameras at the palm oil mill, the ramp. So when the truck or the lorry came in, they unload their FFB, so the camera will just take a picture and sort of give the grading of the fruits in almost a real-time basis. So that's how things has evolved in the palm oil mill. One of the things that definitely can be implemented. Next up, face recognition. Face recognition by itself is actually a product of machine learning and deep learning, and in fact, it's pretty much a mature technology, right? All your cell phone and all that, they actually have this capability to unlock your face, right? So we kind of port this capability into our mobile apps. So during the estate operation, during the morning roll call, we call it master call, where we gather all the general workers and harvesters. So we use the AI face recognition to take their attendance, basically to digitize the attendance taking process. And in a way, we also authenticate the workers and also be able to kind of prevent the phantom worker scenario. In phantom workers, I mean, in the older practice where you're taking attendance with paper and pencil, maybe some of the people, they appear on the attendance list, but they are actually not there, right? So at least with a biometrics face recognition, you can be sure that the person is actually there when you're doing the attendance, right? So there's one of the right off the shelf kind of application that you can get off the market. And let's move on to another one, which is the application of big data or data analysis, right? Data mining. I think we are in the era of information side. All day to day, we have collected so much operation data regarding estate operation as well as a palm oil mill. So what to do with all this data if you don't know how to manage it, right? So having a BI tools or big data or data analysis is particularly useful if you are managing multiple estates, right? Or even multiple companies or kind of group management kind of things. Give you pretty much a data visualization that helps you to make a better judgment, right? So if you are still spending lots of effort to just come up with something like these to kind of for your reporting, you are spending so many effort to do that, then it's probably doing something wrong. And as I think it should be an out of the box solution. And the key thing is we should making sense out of the data instead of being overwhelmed by the volume of the data. That is another application. And next, with all the data being computerized and being tracked, we are able to build smart alert. I think to echo some of the problems that that's presented by Dato'. I think we mentioned about harvesting problems, right? So we always don't have shortage and all that, right? Particularly if you look at this screen, we are able to track, if you look at the numbers here, means let's, for example, 35 or 33, or these red dots. It basically means that these are the day past the last harvesting activity, meaning to say, oh, it's already 35 days since your last harvest. You're probably due for another round. So traditionally, you rely on human to actually track all these, to manage your workers and all that. But with computerized, smarter way, we are able to build notifications to the management that to say, hey, please look at your operations. You need to send in people, you need to organize your people to go and collect all the fruits here. It's already overdue for next harvesting round. So this is kind of the idea that to automate some of the tasks that used to be done by human, and the machine can do it accurately. And same thing, I think harvesting interval, we are able to sort of make use of data to tell you that, hey, these are the interval that currently that you are seeing when it comes to harvesting activity, right? With that, I think with my concluding remark is that AI is here. I think at some form, every industry is going through certain forms of digital transformations, right? Our palm oil industry is the same, and AI is definitely here to stay, right? So we don't have to go for a far-fetched, to a very advanced AI stuff that may seem sometimes when it seems a far-fetched or distant from our operations. But let me assure you that there are already things AI that is practical that you can just implement it in your operations right away. So that's my take. Thank you.
Thank you, Yong Kong. Interesting analysis from the software engineering side. We are getting a multitude of questions targeted at you. We will do this at the end of the session. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Now,
right.
Now on to our third panelist. Wan Siu Hong is a PhD candidate at UCSI University. Siu Hong's angle on our theme is AI detecting oil palm basal stem rot disease. Over to you, Siu Hong.
esteemed panelists. Siu Hong, and I am a PhD student currently studying in UCSI University. So I just started my PhD study this month actually, and I would like to share with you the topic of my study. So before that, let me just share my slide. So the topic of my PhD is focused on a particular disease which is affecting oil palm tree. The name of this disease is called basal stem rot. So the topic of my presentation today will be oil palm basal stem rot disease detection using artificial intelligence. So first of all, what is basal stem rot? Basal stem rot, or in short we call it BSR, is a type of disease which is caused by a pathogenic fungus called the Ganoderma boninens. So what this fungus does is it will affect the plants starting from the root, and it will move on to all other parts of the plant, which is through the stem, the leaves, and so on. So here, this table shows the 4 stages of BSR. So as the at the beginning of BSR, the fungus will affect the root, and we will start to notice the presence of fungal fruiting bodies on the stem. Meanwhile, on the leaves, we will start to see some yellowing or drying of the leaves, or maybe there will be 1 or 2 unopened spears, meaning the leaves never fully open. And moving on to the moderate phase, we will see even more fungal fruiting bodies, and we will start to see the onset of rot at the stem and the root of the plant. Meanwhile, necrosis or dead tissues will start to appear on the leaves. Some of the lower leaves may even collapse, and the older leaves will start to decline. And the number of unopened spears will continue to increase. So moving on to the last, which is the severe part. So there are well-developed fungal fruiting bodies on the plant. Meanwhile, the stems are almost fully rotten, and there are widespread necrosis on the leaves. Meanwhile, there is also a total leaf declination, and the absence of new leaves lead to the skirt-like crown shape, which you can see in this picture. So the leaves, when they are hanging down, it sort of forms like a skirt-like shape. So why is this basal stem rot disease so dangerous? Because it is currently an incurable disease, meaning once a tree has been infected, there are no cure for this tree. So what they will do is they will just isolate this tree by building a trench around it. They do this by digging the soil, measuring 4 meter times 4 meter. They build a trench around this tree to isolate it from the surrounding trees. And they will use the soil that they have dug up to cover back on top of the root of the tree. So this is to prolong the support of the tree, because when the root is infected, it will start to become hollow, and it will no longer be able to support the tree under strong conditions such as strong winds. Therefore, they use the soil to give the root some support, at least until the tree reaches the end of its productive life. So the thing with BSR is, as with all diseases, prevention is still better than cure. So how do we prevent this BSR? Well, traditionally, the method used is manual inspection. So in this method, experts or the plantation workers will have to visit the estate and analyze each tree one by one to determine whether this tree has or has not BSR, and if infected, what stage of BSR it is at. So there are a few obvious problems with this traditional method. First of all, it is labor intensive, it is time consuming, and it always produces inconsistent result, because this method depends on the worker's experience. So depending on which worker that you send to the estate for this job, you will be getting different results. How does artificial intelligence attempt to solve these issues? So here I will present about a series of methods that have been proposed in the literature previously. So the first system is to use an electronic nose. So the way this electronic nose function is they will build a device which functions similar to how the human nose functions. This electronic nose functions by sensing the odor that is released from the infected trees. So what they do is they will use gas sensors to detect the chemical profile from the tree, and they will put it into a data acquisition unit, which contains the neural network. This is the part where AI comes in. So this neural network will be trained using these chemical profiles, and it will automatically classify the plant as whether it is healthy or infected. The next method is by using hyperspectral imaging. So just to give a broad view of hyperspectral imaging. So the human eye, we see color or visible light in three main color field, which is red, green, and blue. So as you can see in light is just spectral electromagnetic waves. So what imaging does is it will use a hyperspectral camera to take hyperspectral or HSI image, which covers all the way from the visible band, and also to include near infrared, short wave infrared, medium wave infrared, and long wave infrared. So what this image that consists of all these spectral bands, what you can do is then you can then split according to each band, according to their frequency or the wavelength, and you can do analysis separately. So as you can see at the bottom right, is an example of a HSI image taken from a drone of a oil palm plantation. So the red color it shows the diseased oil palm tree, whereas the green color shows the healthy oil palm tree, and blue is the background, which is the soil. So this shows you how HSI image can be effectively used to detect the presence of BSR on a large scale. Moving on to the next method is thermal imaging. So thermal imaging is done using thermal camera. So how this method works is it will measure the maximum temperature difference that happens within the plant. So how does this work? Specifically is that a tree infected with BSR, there will be a difference in the heat distribution within the stem of the tree. So this difference can then be detected through the thermal images captured by a thermal camera. And usually the thermal camera that they use have a range of an operating range of 20 degrees Celsius to 650 degrees Celsius. So the results taken are the thermal images shown on the right. And based on these thermal images, we can then feed these images into the neural network. So we can have and then when we do the machine learning and we have the model tell us whether this tree has BSR or not. The next method is terrestrial laser scanning or TLS. This method uses laser camera, which is shown in the bottom left. So what this method does is it uses this laser camera to take the point cloud data or 3D point cloud data of an individual tree. So the result is it will generate a point cloud image shown here. And because this laser camera has a field of view of 360 degree times 305 degree, it is able to cover for the entire tree, even though it is taken on the ground level. So as you can see in this image, the laser scanner is just mounted on the tripod at a height of 1 meter and a distance of 1.5 meter away from the tree. And once we've taken the 3D point image, all the points together to build a 3D model of the tree. And the next step is to do a stratification method where we will separate the tree according to the height, and then we do analysis based on each layer. So using the polyline function of AutoCAD, we can then draw, or we can join the dots, which is the point cloud. We can join them with lines, and from there we can analyze the difference between the crown area, the front number, and the front angle. So trees infected with different stages of BSR will show different crown area, front number, front angle. So the proposal of my PhD title is I will be introducing the technology of machine vision into all these methods. So the proposed machine vision setup of my model is we will be using only mobile devices for the imaging, meaning we will be taking our data in the form of regular image, and we pair it with the processing of a laptop for the machine learning. So the model that I am proposing for my deep learning is the convolutional neural network. So what are the advantages of machine vision as compared to the previous methods? So if you notice, the previous methods, they all rely on data which comes from instruments that are either expensive or not easily accessible. So in comparison, the machine vision technology will allow us to use something which most of us will probably have, which is mobile device. And this will make the method much more accessible. It is also much more cost effective because it is using a device which we are using regularly already. And it will be more efficient, and it will require less computational requirement. So with further development to machine learning algorithms or the neural networks, there is a possibility where we can even move the processing away from laptop and straight into our mobile device itself to take advantage of the high computational power that our mobile device is offering now. And with that concludes my presentation for today. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you, Siu Hong. That's quite a big chunk of AI, I realize, takes off quite a big chunk of laborious work in detecting the disease in the oil palm tree. So I think this is something that's interesting. We wish you well in your paper. Now on to our fourth panelist, Professor Datuk Dr. Ahmad Ibrahim is Professor of Chemical Engineering at UCSI University and Senior Advisor Malaysia at the Fraunhofer Research Network, Germany. Prof. Ahmad's angle on our theme is AI is the game changer in the palm oil industry. Over to you, Prof.
Okay, thank you very much, Rabah. Can you all hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
First, I would like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to share some of my opinions about AI and how it's going to change the game of the industry. I think we cannot deny the fact that we are all moving, the whole world is moving towards the digital economy. This is definitely unavoidable, and the pandemic has made it even more urgent to go for digitalization. Now, I actually would like to look at the angle for the palm oil industry in terms of dealing with losses. In fact, to the industry, one of the biggest concerns is losses. Losses in revenue, losses in yield, which affects the viability and the progressiveness of the industry. And the pandemic has actually sent a strong message that these losses, unless handled very well, can be devastating for the industry. And we saw only losses from the lack of labor. Because of the pandemic, the movement of labor has been curtailed, And we are very dependent on immigrant labor, imported labor. And this may not be in the long-term interest of the industry. But Xiu Hong has just mentioned there are other aspects of losses that we have to deal with in the industry. Diseases, planting materials that are not fully functional when they go onto the land. So these are areas where new technologies like AI can come in and support the industry in trying to minimize such losses. And I see that the basic tenet of AI is always looking at images. We can have, like Xiu Hong has talked about his way of using camera to look at the image of a diseased plant. But there are now new technologies in imaging. We have satellite imaging, remote sensing. You can have drone to look at images of the plantation, of the crop, of the tree. And in this way, images, they have to be properly deciphered. They have to make sense. What is the message there? This is where AI comes in. So I think because of the progress in the technology over the years, we are now able to have more sophisticated analysis of data. And I'm just talking about image data. There are other data that we're looking at now because of big data. A lot of data is available in terms of predicting the future, the price movement of palm oil. These are issues which affect the industry. So I would like to suggest that the industry create a dedicated center for AI research and development, because this is going to be a very important part of industry progress coming to the future. And when I talk about AI, I'm not discounting the other aspect of digital technology, including robotics, automation, IoT, and all that. So this has to come in, but we can only make this happen by creating a dedicated center to focus on this kind of technology. And I would like to suggest that we do not confine our collaboration among the locals only. We have to collaborate with other palm oil producing countries like Indonesia, and we even have to collaborate with technology partners over the world. I am doing some advisory work, collaborative work to create collaboration between German Fraunhofer Research and Malaysian and the Asian partners. And I've seen that in Korea, in China, in Philippines, in Japan, they are very actively pursuing this kind of international collaboration. Because unless we have this kind of global linkage with the right parties in technology, then I think we may not reach there soon enough. And this can be not a very good sign for the palm oil industry. And if we have seen over the years, we have faced many challenges for the palm oil industry, apart from the perception that has been created against palm oil. So we need to address those. These are real stumbling blocks in the market. So we have to address that. And I think the industry is doing just that. But on technology, on the new technology that we're moving in, we cannot ignore, but create the right ecosystem to get this going. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Prof. From Prof. Ahmad's presentation, he has painted the big picture on the certainty of how AI is shifting the industry. I'm delighted that our esteemed panelists have showed us that indeed the palm oil industry is innovating through the widening application of AI throughout the value chain. Well, it looks like we have quite a few questions for our panelists. I will pose each question to the panelists I think best suited to answer. Okay. The first question. Global food security, this is from a gentleman by the name of Kamal. Global food security will become severe in years to come. With big data and 5G that we'll be embarking on, how can AI be able to assist in oil palm plantation and the palm oil industry as a whole? Is there any kind of a blueprint? I would pose this question to Datuk Najib, since he's with the MPOA and with Markov.
Okay, thank you, Prabha. I think I will try to answer that question. There's no official blueprint yet on this, but Markov is specifically coming out with some strategies. That's why I mentioned the three-pronged strategies to basically address our issue, our biggest issue, that is our shortage of workers. And by addressing the shortage of workers, basically you also address a lot of other issues. Because one of them is our rising costs. Our costs to produce is increasing by the year. Every year, our costs keep on moving up. And I dare say today with the high prices of fertilizers, high prices of chemicals, and high costs of labor, our cost to sale has gone up by at least 500 ringgit currently. So this is something which will dictate our competitiveness. And what is biggest concern to us is cost goes up and won't come down. But we are in the business where we are price takers, and competitive prices fluctuate. This is our biggest concern, and that may affect supply of palm oil to the world. And the other factor, which is basically hindering our development and progress in increasing our output, is our environmental issues. Addressing environmental issues is a big issue now. So I think most of the big players wouldn't want to look at expansion. They are focusing towards yield enhancement within the same area. So that may be able to address. But again, back to that, and as I mentioned, AI is the answer to make that happen. And I believe that today we do not have any other choices. We got no more alternatives but to embrace AI in resetting the whole industry again. That is all I have to say. I hope that answers the question.
Thank you, Dato. Okay, the next question is from Nuzat Khan. My research is to design a machine learning model to forecast FFB yield along with quantifying the key yield influencing factors. But there is no data available to train the model. I would pose this question to Yong Kong. Could you assist to answer this, please?
All right. Let me attempt to understand, to clarify. I think we as a solution provider, I think we previously worked with MPOB. MPOB, I think they have a fair bit of data. I believe if the question is about how to get the data set and all that, I think one of the approach is to talk to the body, right? MPOB, for example, to get the yield informations or CPO prices and all that. I think they have a fairly complete database. In fact, they track everything, right? So that's one way. But from my perspective, I think we as a platform, software platform, we actually have the informations of various clients, but those are, of course, it's confidential issues that we protect our clients' data. But having said that, I think when coming from academic perspective, if we have a platform to collect data from, if all the industry players, they are willing to share the data, and we are able to collect all the data under a certain platform, right? So we should be able to do some analysis and all that. And I think that hopefully that is my answer to that. I mean, in terms of correlating the whatever research you are trying to do with the bigger data set that.
Okay, Yong Kong, there are two more questions, so please don't leave the building, okay? Next question. Is the FFB rightness classification functionality already built into Quadro? This is from Anthony Halem.
The answer is, the one that I presented is actually from a paper, but the answer is no. Currently, we are working on a model. We are doing research. We are trying to get, we are moving towards that kind of approach, but I personally seen vendors who have done, who has done similar stuff, right? They install cameras.
Okay, two more questions. Is there a minimum hectare size of the estate for the implementation of the AI solution proposed to become commercially viable?
When it comes to commercial viable, I think, of course, I think when we talk about adopting AI, deploying software solutions and all that, it comes with cost. I think when it comes to cost and benefit analysis, I think, of course, bigger scale, you get more returns. But having said that, I think from my perspective, when I'm serving my clients, I think the smallest client can be like 100 hectares. I'm not sure whether that classifies as smallholders or, I mean, we are looking at, certain sizes, maybe 100 hectares or 50 hectares. I think it's doable as long we are able to make use of the certain technologies or certain software that helps. I think that is the size that we are looking at.
Okay, thanks. One last question. Is the palm oil counting software available for purchase, or do we have to subscribe to the service of Quadro Litramex to use it?
It comes hand in hand, right? So we are the software provider to help you to store all the data and all that. We don't fly the drones. Flying drone do the image processing and all that. There are many vendors who is doing that. So there's a service provider who does that. Those information can be kind of ported into our system, and all the fertilizer budget, all your field information that correlate with all this data can be done in our software. So we are a platform that kind of combines all the information together.
Thank you, Yong Kong. Okay, the next question is by a gentleman by name of Azmi Hassan, and this is for Datuk Najib. The footprint for AI is targeted at big plantations. How can AI be practiced by smallholders in terms of practicality and viability?
Mr. Prabha, actually, that question should be answered by Mr. Yong, not by me, because I think it's about the economies of scale here. See?
Right.
Okay.
So for smallholders, I believe that there have to be some form of where you can combine quite a lot of them to use the available services in the utilization of AI, because then only it makes it affordable for the smallholder to use it. Because don't forget, smallholders' land are fragmented, and even the applicators of AI to move from one place to one place is a constraint. But I think it has to be done collectively. Maybe Yong would like to expand on it, because he may have experience working with on that kind of situation.
Yeah, certainly I agree with you. I think the economy of scale, I think that's one thing. But I think when people talk about AI, sometimes in our mind we think something like really, really advanced. But I think we can start with something incremental changes, like kind of digitize your paper tracking, your operations, replacing all the paper and pens kind of input data. Those, I think, is an incremental digital transformation that can be adopted by smallholders, right? At least you kind of speed out all the works using
Okay,
computers.
Yongkong, I think so. There's another question for you, and this is by a gentleman, Teo Cheng Hai. How can AI support sustainable palm oil production by smallholders?
All right. Again, smallholders. I think the definition of smallholders. I don't really have a fix. I'm not sure how big is the land and all that. I think to be sustainable, it still comes back to question like the economy of scale, right? So if to echo the remarks just now, if we are able to combine multiple plot of land together, I think that is one way that you can apply a bigger technology on bigger pieces of people. But having said that, there are still things that, like for example, face recognition and all that. Those are the things that has already come for almost cost to nothing. I mean, in certain sense, right? That I hopefully that sort of answer the questions.
Okay, thanks, Yongkong. Okay, I have another question from a lady by the name of Ivy Ng. In your opinion, what is the main reason why palm oil companies have not embraced some of the successful AI technology in the industry? Could it be due to costs, practicality of the solutions, lack of workers, or lack of evidence of its results, or marketing of the products?
This thing I think the way I see it is, for example, I've been seeing or talking to people who's talking about IoT. They are talking about deploying sensors around a big piece of plantation, right? But then I think the challenge is, I mean, the idea is good. You have a lot of sensors to cover all your plantation, but I think the obstacle is the manpower to manage that, the infrastructure to do all this, and whether having all these in the end, people will want to see the return of investment after you do all these things. So those are the things that is kind of unknown. Not to say that no value, definitely there are values doing that, but it's just that when it comes to commercial value, sometimes the bosses or the big players or even the owners, they are kind of, hey, should I invest to do all these things? What is my return? So those, I think we need to have a better idea on the return on investment, so that the whole industry, they can move together or say, this is a good thing that we should invest and we should move forward, we should adopt all this technology. So I think that is one thing that kind of prevents, not to say prevent, it's kind of like obstacle in the mindset that from adopting a technology, right? Just as simple as changing a software, you kind of say, hey, right now my software is good, why do I need to change? It, to a certain sense, also rely on the people and the mindset. I think that's my take.
Okay, Yongkong, I got one more question for you. And this is also from Ivy Ng. And this question, actually, it's more for you, though it's about the subject matter that Datuk Najib spoke about. What is the most successful AI technology applied in the palm oil industry today? How has that or this technology improved productivity in the industry, or specifically reduced labor usage per acre?
It's a hard one. To be honest, I don't know. I don't know what is the greatest things that has come. Maybe there's the best has not yet come. When it comes to benefit, I think just speaking from experience, because I'm dealing with clients, the operation, they are really looking at profit and loss and all that. By adopting system and data analysis, for example, they are able to know, hey, certain area is not covered by harvester. For example, the harvesting gap and interval and all that. They need to focus on those to recover the losses, right? They are backlogged in your estates. With systems, we are able to tell them, hey, there is FIB backlog that you didn't collect. After harvest, you just leave it on platform. No one collects it. So those are the losses that you can recover by some form of smart alert and notifications. Those are the things that can help to increase not to say to increase the yield of, yes, in a way it's to increase the yield recovery. And I think that is from my experience, coming from my background of doing, serving our customer. But as to what is the greatest one, I really don't have a clear answer for that.
Thank you very much, Yong Kong. Okay, the next question is for Siu Hong. It's from Dedan Diwantara. Of all the techniques that Mr. Wan described need to relate with the indicator of soil health. So can we do the next part of treatment for our plantation? My question is, what is the cheapest and the most effective technology to detect basal stem root or upper stem root disease by Ganoderma, and how can they differ from other disease? Siu Hong?
So there are several parts of this question. So I will first answer the first part, which is what is the cheapest and most effective technology to detect BSR? So in terms of cost, there is still not a comprehensive cost analysis or paper on this sort of cost to really compare the cost effectiveness of each method, which I've mentioned just now. But in terms of effectiveness, actually all of the methods which I have mentioned, which includes the laser scanning, thermal, hyperspectral, and also even remote sensing using satellite image, they all have quite high accuracy of upwards of 90% and above. So in terms of effectiveness, they are really quite competitive. So it depends on accessibility of the data, which will provide the data set for your model, and how easily are you able to get it. And in terms of the price, for example, if it's satellite image, then there may be a cost associated with getting the satellite image from the aerospace agencies. So that I don't have a clear answer for that, unfortunately. In terms of maybe taking images using drones, that will be the price of the drone. And for laser scanning and thermal imaging, the price would be associated with the cost of the device itself, which is the laser scanner and the thermal camera. And how can they differ from other diseases? Unfortunately, I do not have a clear answer on that yet, because I'm only currently focusing on the symptoms of BSR. So I don't have a from other diseases. So is that BSR is still the prime disease which affects the oil palms plantation in Malaysia. Hope that helps.
Okay, Siu Hong, there's one more question. Since thermal imaging can be used to detect infected palms, can it also be tailored to detect palms that are stressed nutritionally / physically? This is from Curtis Tan.
Okay, so as I mentioned, the technique that is used in thermal imaging is it will detect the thermal difference within the plant itself. So it doesn't matter which disease or the symptoms that the plant is showing, as long as there is a thermal difference, or for example, there's a difference in the way in which heat is distributed within the plant, then I am confident that thermal imaging can be used to detect this disease. Although it may still need some development according to the disease.
Thank you, Siu Hong. Okay, the next question is for Prof. Ahmad. This is from the gentleman Kamal. Most of the big estate of farming is located in the rural area. How do we get real data, as the internet connection is very crucial and challenging? Is there any other solution for this? Prof. Ahmad?
Okay, thank you, Prabha. I just want to mention that we are talking about change here, from traditional to digital. So change is something that has to be driven. This is why I suggested the formation of the Center for Digital Transformation of the Palm Oil Business, Palm Oil Industry. So we need to reach out to the stakeholders, because I see from the discussion earlier, a lot of uncertainties, whether this will be good enough, this will be efficient, will it be very costly? So these are questions which need to be answered. And I would say that for change to happen, this center must be marketing this technology to the various stakeholders. And I saw that one of the key area is getting the training data to actually get your AI moving. And this also is a problem. And unless we address this by consolidating the parties involved in the industry, then it's very difficult to move towards digitalization. It cannot be bits and pieces. So I agree with the question that internet is one of the key infrastructure that needs to be addressed to actually enable this digital transformation plan. Thank you.
Prof, there's one more question. In terms of this center to be set up by the industry for strictly for AI, personally, I see a lot of potential, because any IPs developed in with the through the technology, through R&D over there, can be an export earner for the country.
Yes, why not? You know, because palm oil is unique to Malaysia and Indonesia. So, you know, the technologies on palm oil will be unique to our countries. But I think to move this thing forward, because it involves a lot of investment and uncertainties, we need to work together. There has to be collaboration among all stakeholders. And when you talk about food security, as was mentioned earlier, I think we must not run away from the fact that we should not ignore food equity in the food security. We can have food security, but the smallholders, for example, are left out of the equation of enjoying the prosperity. So these are things we need to be addressed. And AI is seen by many as one of the potential technology platform that we can use, not just for big industry. It can also be deployed for the small farmers. But this requires a lot of studies, research, and collaboration with different parties, and marketing the idea to the stakeholders. Because I saw from the earlier question that there is still a lot of uncertainties about the technology. People are not sure whether to change from the traditional way of doing things to the digital way. So all this can be handled by having a dedicated shared center on digital transformation for the palm oil industry. Thank you.
Prabha.
Yes.
Tan Sri
Yes, Tan
Yusof
Sri.
here.
Yes,
I
Tan Sri.
heard the question and answer session being well done. And there was one question relating to how can the AI help smallholders
Yes.
maintain sustainable palm oil production. I've been briefed, or I heard the presentation recently of blockchain technology being applied to do blockchain powered traceability, and I understand in this algorithm of this blockchain technology, they use a lot of artificial intelligence, data being used to arrive at solutions in the blockchain process, so that you can really trace bunch loaded or sold by farmer A with a license, the farmer being a licensed and sustainably certified palm oil producer. All his palm oil produced from that bunch, once recorded through blockchain technology and artificial intelligence, summing up everything, can continue along the chain to the mill, to the refinery, to the end user, like let's say Unilever, can trace where his oil, let's say 1 kilo of oil or 3 kilos of oil from that bunch comes from, because the bunch is all registered through the blockchain technology process of traceability. Yeah. So when applied to sustainable palm oil production, traceable palm oil production, the source of supply, all that can be much enhanced. I think this is the real game changer for the industry. Then we can actually shut this, allegation from the buyers in, like, say, EU, who keep saying, palm oil is linked to deforestation and all that. We say, no, our palm oil is blockchain traceable from the source, and the source is all registered and traceable. A location is traceable. So they can't make wild allegations like that anymore. So I think this would be what the future may happen in an industry that is under pressure to prove sustainability, to prove traceability, to prove legal sources and all that. So I heard and I know a lot of artificial intelligence application goes together with the blockchain technology approach in registering the supply chain from one end to the next, to the end, from end to end. So I hope that answers to Shanghai question as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri. And thank you, Tan Sri. I can see that you're very eager to answer that question. Okay, I have one question for Dato Najib. Okay, when we are looking at the Mechanization and Automation Research Consortium of Oil Palm, and you being the chairman, Dato Najib, I think that this house of research and development can open up a whole new stream of revenue for the country, where we can be exporting our IP in the robotics, in whatever automation that we developed in terms of the devices. The potential is huge. What is your take on this, Dato Najib? Dato Najib? Okay, I think that he may be occupied. It's okay. Tan Sri, maybe you would like to take this question too, Tan Sri.
So the
Hello. Okay, we have two people who have raised their hands. One is Beatrice Ting, and the other person is US 88590SER. Could you all please pose your questions in the chat box? Hello?
Yeah, Prabha.
Yes.
Yeah, I would like to support the view from Tan Sri Yusof about the blockchain thing. I think this is something, again, this can be handled by the center that I mentioned, because these are new areas of technology that require convincing, require selling to stakeholders. And definitely blockchain is making headway in many areas, not just in Bitcoin and all this, but in traceability especially. And many businesses are looking to it at blockchain as one of the key technologies. And as explained by Tan Sri Yusof, this can be the tool that we can use to actually put forward the real picture of traceability and all that. Thank you.
Prof. Ahmad, actually, what you said is right, and Tan Sri too, because with blockchain technology, no one can query that something is missing in the value chain, because you can't change anything. It's there, it's documented, you see. So I think that this will actually help the producer countries in alleviating the misinformation and disinformation posed by Western interest parties.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, we are now coming up to 12:30. Okay, I would like to go and sum up. Okay, from the opening remarks to the views and the opinions from the esteemed panelists, all of us present here can understand and digest the strategic shift that AI is bringing to the palm oil industry. Millennials should consider the palm oil industry for their future as it promises much excitement, especially with the increasing use of AI, a field that is reimagining by the minute. Okay. On behalf of CPOPC, I would like to thank the esteemed panelists for their well-received presentations, and to all attendees, thank you for your participation in this session. Okay. I would now like to announce the lucky draw winner. Okay. As for our lucky draw, the winner of the Apple Retina display iPad is, let me see, is, I think, Noor Halawati Zainuddin. Congratulations. We will get in touch with you soon. Do follow the CPOPC media handles. We look forward to having all of you present at the next event in the CPOPC webinar series. To our panelists, Chong Yong Kong and Wan Siu Hong, and to those who are celebrating the Lunar New Year, on behalf of CPOPC, I wish all of you a happy and prosperous Year of the Tiger. Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.